Well, guys, welcome back to another great episode of Heard About It. And, we said we were going to talk about the new Donkey Kong video game. And so, to celebrate the fact that the new video came out, I thought I'd eat a special fruit. I think you know what I'm about to pull out here. Yeah, I'm going to be eating this.
What is that?
What?
That's an apple, man.
So, does DK not eat apples? I thought, is it? Oh, Bananza. Oh, it's bananas, isn't it? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to put this back.
All right, guys. Welcome back to
episode 2 of this summer.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. We have a lot to talk about today.
We are talking about Donkey Kong Bananza.
Donkey Kong Bananza.
In a little bit, though.
In a little bit. We're going to have another bigger discussion topic. We have a new game for you today. I'm very excited to do it. He doesn't know what it is. I'm going to play it for him. Jackson's going to be my guinea pig today. Yeah, we have some other fun topics for you today. All right.
Today we're starting out with the state of next-gen consoles. Now, do you know anything about what's happening with the next-gen consoles? Because I've been doing a lot of research in the past.
I know PlayStation is probably doing PS6.
If you had it.
Shocker.
PS7.
I know Xbox unveiled a portable console, like their kind of competition to the Steam Deck.
Yes, and Switch.
And Switch, I always feel weird when you talk about anything being in competition with Nintendo because they play their own different game. I will say I think Nintendo is entering a conversation with directly competing with Xbox and PlayStation now. But I think
I wrote down notes for this one.
He wrote down notes. He's more prepared than me for this this segment.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure.
They did a portable console. Xbox is clearly going for this, and I think we've talked about this on the show before.
Everything is an Xbox.
Everything is an Xbox, and that's kind of been their push right now.
Anything with a Wi-Fi connection.
Basically, that if you have Wi-Fi, they've been pushing cloud streaming. Basically, if you have Wi-Fi, you can access your
fridge.
Game Pass.
Not actually,
but just basically. Can the Xbox be just a stick you plug into your TV and then you can stream Game Pass titles? That's really what they've been focusing on as a brand.
And a lot of it's working. Some Samsung smart TVs have Xbox Game Pass built into them now.
Okay.
Where you can just stream, if you have the subscription, you can stream any Game Pass game you want.
Yeah, and as long as you have an Xbox controller hooked up, it works pretty well.
Not even just you could use a Switch Pro controller for all they care.
Does it work well though? Like I haven't heard any reviews of saying like the Xbox cloud streaming works really well or it's really bad.
I've played on it a few times.
You have? Do you like it?
It was when it was in beta 3-ish years ago.
Okay.
It was fine. I wouldn't play a multiplayer game with it.
Okay. Did you ever try it with a LAN connection? That's what I'm curious about.
No, because the kind of the idea is that you can just play it on the go.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe
on my phone. That's when I played it.
Oh, you played it on?
I played it on my phone on cellular data on the highway.
Gosh.
So and it I was able to play a single player game for like a good amount of time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of battery, obviously.
I'm sure.
But so to start off with this topic, really, I wanted to talk about. So obviously we talked about the Nintendo Switch 2 last week. That's the first. I know people don't really care about console generations anymore. I think it's a fun way to discern between generations. So the Switch 2 has happened. That kicked us off with the 9th generation, 10th generation, something like that. One of those two. Then we'll have the PS6, as expected.
Yes.
PS6 has been trademarked from Sony since 2020, I believe, as well as through PS10. They've trademarked all of those. Xbox is doing a complete turnaround for what a console is going to be.
Yeah.
As we said, everything's an Xbox, but obviously they're still going to have their own actual Xbox. You can't have the Xbox without the box.
Yes. Naturally. Then it'd just be X.
So what's
a different thing entirely.
That is a very different thing entirely. That would be interesting if you could play games on there. He wants it to be an everything app, Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in like 5 years you're just game streaming.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's off topic.
Whack the mic. Sorry, listeners. Sorry about that.
So Xbox is changing their formula around. If you saw the Xbox handheld, let's go into that first. So there's a company named Asus, and they did a handheld PC similar to the Steam Deck about 4 years ago.
I think I've heard of them, yeah.
And
that rings a bell.
Yes. And then they have partnered with Xbox to make a dedicated Xbox handheld called the Xbox ROG Ally X.
Terrible name. I do want to mention that the naming for this thing is bad.
Which it was called the ROG Ally originally.
The ROG Ally, okay.
And then they had the ROG Ally X, which is the higher edition of ROG Ally, and now it's called the Xbox ROG Ally X. See, it's hard to say.
So basically, it is a gaming PC that has prioritized Xbox.
Yes, and all PC users, I'm sure you're aware of that annoying Xbox app that you have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
You know that thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have revolutionized it, and it looks and feels so much better, supposedly, allegedly. And now this thing will boot up straight into that operating system of the Xbox app, not necessarily the operating system. And it's still a Windows-based handheld PC, but Xbox devs have been given access for the first time to completely disable Windows running in the background.
Okay, that is a big deal.
Which improves performance significantly.
Because we've talked about this where I feel like gaming PCs have become a lot of like, I think we're truly getting gaming PCs for the first time. Because I think I'm sure you have this in your notes. You're going to talk about the Steam.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
But Xbox is clearly doing something where it is truly a PC optimized for gaming, not just in terms of graphics card and CPU processor, but in the way it is set up and the way the settings are set up to 100%. Where it's all about gaming, and not that you can't do anything else with it, but clearly they understand, hey, your primary purpose, because I own a gaming PC, I own a gaming laptop, I did it just so I could buy some certain Steam titles that I couldn't get on console. It's a very frustrating thing having to deal with Windows and get around Windows to get to my games and to get to my Steam library, and troubleshooting can be very, very frustrating with the PC. So I think it's nice that they're trying to make gaming PC simpler, because it can be pretty confusing.
You ready for this?
Yes.
Today, actually, Xbox has announced they are allowing support of your Steam library games and boot.dev, I believe is what it was, those games to be on the Xbox app now.
That's a big
and you
deal.
can launch from there.
So you can launch Steam from...
You can launch your... Not necessarily just the games. The games themselves. So you can... You know how you can put anything on Steam? You can launch anything from the Steam launch.
Oh, yes.
So you can do that same exact thing with Xbox, except all your Steam games, if you log in with your Steam, all of them will just be on the Xbox app.
That's nice.
They're smoothing it out, Yeah. And like...
But this is what's so interesting. What you've just mentioned is not only we've not only been seeing the end of the console wars with Xbox and PlayStation being more open about their exclusives. I mean, that right there has just bridged the gap of PC and console, which is clearly, I feel like, has been this line of never the two shall meet.
Oh, when I said Xbox up, I meant on the on your PC, device. On the handheld or your PC with the Xbox app there.
Oh,
not on an Xbox.
Okay, not on Xbox, but still a big deal that Xbox is making this Xbox-focused gaming PC that still has support for Steam. So you're clearly getting the Xbox experience. Now, this is a clarification, and you might have said this, I don't remember. The Xbox, the gaming piece, the PC handheld that runs Xbox, does it only run Xbox games that have been ported to PC, or does it include all Xbox console games that can be on there? Because they do have a lot of Xbox PC games that are on console but not on, and there's some that are on console but not on PC.
That's something that's been confusing a lot of people right now.
Okay.
From my understanding, it's getting pretty much close to being confirmed that you will be able to buy your Xbox games on your Xbox and play that same title on this PC.
Even if it's an only console. Even if it's
it'll transfer to the PC.
It'll transfer to the PC version.
Supposedly. That's not confirmed
yet.
Okay.
Because that's the big changer. Because really it doesn't mean much. It doesn't. I feel like if you do that, then it truly feels like an Xbox handheld.
Yes. To contradict what I just said about there not being Steam stuff on your actual Xbox.
Yes.
For the next actual Xbox, Phil Spencer, the CEO of Xbox, has... I keep saying Xbox a lot. That's... Anyway, anyways.
This is what you're discussing.
Xbox. Phil Spencer, the CEO of Xbox, has confirmed that their next Xbox will be more of a Windows-based home console entertainment system.
Okay.
Which
We've
means
talked about that a little bit, yeah.
It will be running we have talked about that. It will be running the same operating system that this Xbox handheld is running. Most likely.
Most likely.
Which we've had that same UI and operating system since the Xbox One on the Series X, right? Mm-hmm. And with that operating system being on the next Xbox, it means you'll be able to play all of your Steam games on an Xbox.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the point of console wars? We're gonna get more into that.
Forget about console wars. Forget about like what's the point of like PC? What Xbox is clearly doing is becoming a PC company now. Like that's what it is. It's becoming a personal computer.
Which is good.
Which I think has its benefits, and you lose
the distinction, but
you lose the distinction.
Consumer.
But also you think about like why didn't they think of this sooner? Yeah. You know, like you control Windows, you control the operating system. And you decided to, and like I guess the idea is that you had the power of Microsoft kind of operating systems, and they just kind of, because was the original Xbox, wasn't it just like a heavily modified version of, was it a brand new operating system?
I think it was a brand new operating system.
Brand new operating system, okay.
From my understanding.
But I do like that they're bridging that gap between Windows and Xbox and really trying to make them one and the same. I don't know, I think the next consoles will be interesting. And I think, like you said, I think PlayStation is going to keep what they're doing. They're going to keep trying to create the best, the most powerful console of each generation, which they have, I think, successfully done each generation, I think, since...
Well, Xbox was actually more powerful.
Xbox One?
The Series X was more powerful than the PS5.
It was? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think PlayStation's doing fine. I think Switch will continue... The Nintendo will do their own thing forever. You know, it's interesting. It feels like, we talked about this. The console wars felt like they were about to end. You know, it's like, okay, people are being more open with exclusives, and it doesn't really, it feels like, well, we just want people to be able
to play the games.
Play the games. And it clearly feels like a lot more companies are becoming more software focused than they are hardware focused, which I think is great. I think there's some great benefits to that. It's funny to me that as that happened, and as Xbox and PlayStation should be more open about sharing software and basically being like, we don't care what you play the games on as long as you play them, that Nintendo goes out of their way to get like some really good exclusives and to get like a bunch of major third-party support.
So what's also interesting, we've never had a actual PlayStation game on an Xbox, right?
Yes.
PlayStation games have been being ported to Steam.
Oh, yeah.
With the addition of Steam being on Xbox.
Oh.
You'll be able to play God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, all on an Xbox. Xbox has been porting their games to PlayStation for the past year and a half now. Forza Horizon 5 is on there. The new Gears of War remaster just got on there. Is it going to
come to PS5?
Same day.
Really?
That's
crazy.
And it's running the best way on a console. The best way to play the Gears of War remaster is on a PS5 Pro.
That's crazy. And that's what we talk about the console wars. And I wonder if you're probably looking at like, well, why hasn't PlayStation been doing the same thing? Maybe because they know Xbox is headed in this direction, and they say, hey, do we really need to worry about porting to both PC and Xbox, or is it just going to be simpler to keep porting to PC, and Xbox users are eventually going to have access to that?
Or did they just not know this at all, and now they're like, oh no, what have we done? Well, will they find a way, if they didn't know it and they don't want Xbox players to play their exclusives, will they find a way for you not being able to play PlayStation games on your Xbox Steam thing? I mean,
I don't. You know that more than me. If there's a way you can block software on certain hardware, even if they already own the game, and this is
I'm sure
where
they could,
and you could, because this is where like digital game ownership gets really tricky. When you buy a game from a digital store, you're not actually buying the game; you're buying the license, and so when you sign those license agreements, you agree to a lot of stuff like we can get rid of this, we can take this game away from you at any time, even though you paid for it. So
I'm glad Steam has been good about being upfront about that. They've recently added like, hey, this is a license. Like games devs, they have to mandatory say, hey, this is a license. You don't actually own this. Steam's been great. Valve has been great about being.
But that's what a digital game is basically. So I think that'll be interesting. Like I'm sure there's some way to kind of affect the license there. But I feel like we've been saying, as we've seen this trend, I don't think PlayStation's going to do that. I think they're going to be as open as possible. I'm surprised. I will say, I think the one game that really needs to come to Xbox from PlayStation that hasn't yet, and I just think people would love it, why is Helldivers not on Xbox yet? I think
it's on Steam, right?
Xbox. It's on Steam and it's on PlayStation, and I think Xbox fans would love Helldivers. I think they would.
100%.
I think
that'll
Xbox
give it
users,
a rebirth if all of this comes to fruition within. I believe the next generation is going to be next year.
You really think so?
Like 6.
Because how old is the PS5?
2020 is when they came out. It'll be 6 years next year.
6 years. That's usually how they do it, right? Yeah.
The PS4 and Xbox One came out in 2013. So 7-year gap then, and then before that it was what was it? Xbox 360. So that was, man, was that a really long generation? No, that was okay. Xbox 360 came out 2007. So that was 6 years, 6 to 7, and then probably be back to 6.
So we've been talking a lot of big picture here, Jackson. In your opinion, just more technically, what do you think the next step is for a console? And like what are we looking at? Like just better? Do you think we're just going to get better ray tracing? Do you think we're going to get smoother? Do you think we're going to jump? I think we're going to have a new threshold for frame rate. Like, we're going to go to 90 instead of 60? Or are we going to jump to 120 here?
Well, the last generation was 120. Was the idea?
That
was the entirety.
120 at normal, and then if you really want to push your graphics, you can go 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what's hard. So that's why I think the PS6 is not going to be as successful, nearly as successful as the PS5.
Yeah.
It's because the graphicsing power that has increased over the past 6 years, yes, there's been great improvements, not enough to where the average consumer is going to notice that much. Home console users, I would say, are more on the average consumer side of video games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
If you want to be all in, best performing thing, you're going to get a PC.
Yeah.
So what will the PS6, if it's going to just be another, next step in the PlayStation thing, whereas Xbox is doing this whole new thing.
Yeah, like they're trying to be different here.
Very different, which will make them on their own, What will PS6 have to bring to the table to say, hey, we're different, we're able to do all these things? They can't just be graphical power because they've already reached the limit.
Yeah, like PS5, it just seems like, and we're not the first ones to talk about this, so I won't keep y'all on this for a while, but it does feel like, the jump from PS4 to PS5 was hard to notice. And especially I think because you had some great games on there. I think you had, God of War Ragnarok, I think, but that was also on PS4, thank you, Jackson, so you can hear me. But God of War Ragnarok also showed up on PS4, right? Mm-hmm. I think one game that was kind of cool, I didn't play it, but from what I saw, Rift Apart, the Ratchet & Clank game,
the quick
loading speeds was really cool in the way that you kind of just jumped
that has changed almost nothing. Loading speeds have only, like the new solid state drives from 2020, they haven't really changed at all.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I was going to say something. You talk while I was going to try to think what I was going to say.
But I just feel like you look at that jump from PS4 to PS5, and it doesn't feel like it was as big as we were hoping. I think, honestly, if you look at it, the biggest change I feel like that came out of the PS4 and the PS5 was the controller.
The
PS5 controller, I think, was one of the best controllers ever conceived for a console.
Before we continue talking about the controller, what I was going to say is, it was even harder to tell between a PS4 and a PS5, the PS5 to the PS5 Pro.
Oh, absolutely.
And think of how much they marketed, like how much more powerful it was, and you could barely notice the difference. Mm-hmm. Which will prove the point that a PS6 is not going to enhance the visuals that much.
Unless they do something very different. But again, Sony is known, I think, for pretty much keeping it safe and just saying, hey, here's a super powerful console. Enjoy the games we make for it. I mean, I feel like what PlayStation has to really understand really soon is that you have to sell it on software. You have to have your killer app. And they didn't really have that on the PS5.
Nope.
They relied solely, and it worked for them that time. It worked for them, but that might be the PS5 might be the last time that just saying, look at how powerful this console is. It might be the last time that works out for them, if that makes sense.
That's
but if they get
point.
a really cool, if they get the exclusive software, or at least the starting exclusive software to say, hey, you need to, and not say, hey, you should buy PS6 because it can run things like this and it can make games look like this. No. Why do you buy it? You don't buy a Nintendo. I didn't buy the Switch 2 because it had 60 frames a second in 4K. It's because
It helped.
It helped.
It helped. Don't get me wrong.
But I bought a Switch game because it was the only place I was going to play Super Mario World. It's the only place I can play Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it's the only place I'm going to be able to play future Nintendo games because they make good software.
With all these PlayStation games going to Steam, that's what's going to make it really hard for them. What I found out today, this is kind of off topic, but I didn't realize the Switch had a ray tracing core in it.
Oh, it does?
It can run ray traced games,
That's
which is insane for that thin of a console. Which means because Indiana Jones required ray tracing, Indiana Jones can come to Switch, as well as Doom: The Dark Ages requires ray tracing. Can also come to Switch.
I will say,
Very
I think if you want a really good PS6 software, and I have no idea if they're making this, but something I've been thinking about, which would be a fun wish list game, is to do a Helldivers spinoff about like the Air Force.
I don't know much about Helldivers.
So all of Helldivers, so everyone gets their own battleship, and you're playing on planets. It's ground level space planets, but there's a lot of space stuff happening. I mean, like they have like basically like infinite Star Destroyers. There's one Star Destroyer for every player.
Oh wow.
Just think of it that way. So it's really fun. You get to like name your capital ship. So mine, I think, is the Custodian of Family Values. You basically pick from like two like selections. It's like the blank of blank, and then they give you a bank of words to choose from. So that's mine. So you can launch like orbital strikes from there. You can like, so there's an Air Force in the Helldivers universe, but you never get to like fly ships. It'd be cool to have like a squadrons, like a Star Wars squadron style game for the Helldivers universe. Anyway, but that's the kind of stuff I feel like if PlayStation says like, hey, for the first 2 years, these games are only going to be on PS6. So if you want to play them now, you have to get a PS6. That's what's going to sell the PS6.
Because there also was not that many exclusive for PS5 this time around.
There weren't any.
Unless you didn't have a PS4.
Yeah.
Which neither of us did, which made a PS5 reasonable.
I bought a PS5 because I hadn't owned a PS. My family hadn't owned a PlayStation game since the 2. Or the console since PlayStation 2.
I never, ever had a PlayStation. So
I will say, I think Spider-Man 2 was a great exclusive on there. It was only on PS5.
It's going to Steam soon.
And it will go to Steam soon. I'm trying to think what else.
What's crazy is GTA 6 is console exclusive.
It is? It's
Rocksteady is... Rocksteady, or is it Rockstar?
No,
Rockstar
yeah.
is adamant about doing consoles first and then PC 1 year or 2 years down the line.
Yeah,
which is
that makes sense.
I do want to talk about within the same topic. We've been talking about Steam a lot.
Yes.
For somehow, if you don't know, Steam is a library of games that you can storefront, whatever.
I think
I'm sure most of them know.
No, but just in case,
there's a select audience that I definitely know that doesn't. So I want to appeal to them real quick.
That's fair.
Steam is owned by the company Valve. Valve are the creators of Portal, Portal 2, Half-Life, Half-Life 2,
Counter-Strike,
Dota,
Team Fortress. A lot of great games.
All of those really good games. And they made a launcher for those games years ago, and now it's the biggest launcher on PC of them all. So, with that said, Valve, back in 2020, 2021, released a thing called the Steam Deck. People compared it as the Switch killer. And
kill switch is a better term, I will say. I don't know why more journalists use that. You're a genius, Jackson. But anyway,
I did not make that up. Okay. The company Dbrand did their case company. That's what they called this. The case for the Steam Deck they made was called the kill switch.
Clever.
And so it's a handheld PC that you can hold in your hands. Surprising, wow, right? Yeah. And play all your Steam games on it. They built a software for it from the ground up called SteamOS. Within this software is a Arch Linux-based, where Steam is integrated within the software, in the operating system itself. They built it specifically for gaming, which makes games run way better.
Yes, on this prioritizing.
Yes.
If those of you that don't know, if you've ever entered like big picture mode on your PC for Steam, so Steam Launcher and the Steam software, I'm sure some of y'all know this, has a big picture mode, which basically changes the UI of your interface of your PC.
It looks more like a console.
It looks more like a console's kind of interface when you're opening games on that.
You can use a controller on it.
You can use a controller on it. It basically has better organization. It just looks nicer than the regular Steam page. Steam OS kind of looks like big picture mode, right?
Yes, it is. That's what it is.
It's essentially the big picture
and
mode.
you can exit out of big picture mode and use it as a Linux desktop if you wanted to.
If you wanted to, but its default setting is as basically a Steam page.
Yes. Which even in the, I think it was a year ago, Disney's Imagineers video, they were showcasing their holodeck where you can run it. They use Steam Decks to run like robots and stuff around.
That's
the
cool
thing because you can do whatever. It's Linux. You can do whatever you want with it. They have been working on a Steam Deck 2 for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. They said they did not want to release the second one until it was a worthy upgrade.
Okay.
We are approaching the time of it being a worthy upgrade because there's been a lot of chips coming out that support way higher processing, way higher everything, because the Steam Deck is outperformed by the Switch 2, which is saying a lot because it heavily outperformed the original Switch. So the Steam Deck 2 will be coming out most likely next year or the year following. They are also working on a Steam Machine 2. A Steam Machine was made back in 2019 to stream, I believe it was to stream your PC games from your higher-end PC across your house to play it on the TV.
Yes. And famously, I think, featured one of the worst controllers ever made because they tried to translate keyboard controls onto a traditional
like touchpad controls.
Sorry, like touchpad mouse, like mouse and keyboard controls onto a standard controller. It's one of the
you can see the birth of the Steam Deck layout on it, which people are loving the way the Steam Deck is run. So I bet you it'll look more like the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I'm sure what they'll do is they'll
form.
take the control scheme of the Steam Deck and put it on a regular controller.
But the idea of a Steam Machine 2 is that it'll have real hardware that can play games locally on the thing, similar to the Xbox, except you won't be dealing with possibly buggy Windows. You'll be dealing with amazing SteamOS, which they have been optimizing for the Steam Deck in the past 5 years. SteamOS on a home console PC will probably be one of the biggest sellers of the next generation.
Yeah. So like, and as we talked about, this is what Xbox is doing. Xbox is moving closer to the PC world, and we see Steam, the biggest kind of Valve, the biggest player in the PC gaming world, moving closer to something of a home console. So they're very much bridging the gap, and I think that's what's going to be interesting about this next generation is Steam and Xbox are kind of amalgamate into this weird half PC, half console space. And then Nintendo and PlayStation are going to be trying to just sell these strict consoles. And Nintendo's fine.
Because they have the exclusives.
Because they have the exclusives. They have the software. That's what we're saying about PlayStation. If they're not going to play in Steam and Xbox game, which is a genius, I think, play. I think Steam basically trying to say, hey, we know there's a large audience of people out there who buy PCs just to run games, like just to play games. Let's make a PC like truly optimized for playing games, you know, because I get a lot of like, you get a gaming PC and it's great. And it is great that like it has like the right processing power and they're choosing, you know, chips and graphics cards for gaming. But to have not only that, but also to, you know, prioritize the UI, prioritize the operating system into that it makes sure the game is running as best as possible. That's what a lot of people want out of PCs, I feel like. And so bridging that gap, both Xbox and Steam, is a genius move.
That's also what's, as you're saying, that's what's appealing about consoles, is that most AAA game developers, they target towards the onboard hardware of consoles to make sure they run the best on those because they know that's where their mass audience is going to come from. SteamOS, as I said, is a Linux-based operating system, which means it should run on any PC you want to put it on, right? The only problem with that is NVIDIA graphics drivers, they don't entirely support Linux right now. However, Valve, because they're such a big name in the gaming space, they are working with NVIDIA to get their Linux-based software running on their graphics cards, which those graphic cards are the most popular graphics cards around.
Now, didn't Xbox just make a deal with AMD?
Yes, but 1 second.
1 second. Okay, so, you have that. Just making sure that was it.
Yeah, the idea behind that is that just as anything can be an Xbox, pretty soon anything can be a Steam machine.
Yeah.
Because you will be able to build your own custom PC and run SteamOS on it, use it as a home console, and just launch into big picture mode.
Yes.
That's your own Steam machine that you just built.
That's the question idea. But like, do you think we'll get to a point where Xbox will support a SteamOS software? And you think PlayStation will support a SteamOS? Do you think we'll get to that point ever?
No, I don't believe they'll ever let SteamOS on there. Because Xbox, I mean, they're Microsoft, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they're a competitor. But
they're going to always have their Xbox launcher, whereas SteamOS, they'll have their own SteamOS. Like, but you can, that's the great idea behind SteamOS, is that you can upgrade while things come out. Instead of paying these $500 bills every like 6 years, you can do these $50 to $100 upgrades.
Yeah.
Progressively over time, which is technically cheaper than
for build it's if you want to build your own PC, Steam is definitely making it more beneficial to build your own PC. Yes. So a lot of interesting stuff here. I'm excited. I don't think I'm going to get any of the next consoles. I'm pretty happy.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I wrote this question down. I said, is it worth buying any of them?
I mean, if they're going to support, for what I own right now, if PlayStation says we're still going to support the PS5, because I think they'd be crazy not to support the PS5.
It has the hardware to run.
It will have the hardware to run anything that they throw at the PS6. So if they support the PS5, I have my Switch 2. The Switch 2 is going to last me a while. I don't think I'm going to buy any of this stuff. What?
You have your laptop as well.
My laptop's very old.
It is old. But people have been running SteamOS on their custom, not older stuff, but like their custom stuff, and they've been finding performance is significant over running games on Windows.
If I can get my SteamOS running on it, if they unveil it.
So if they unveil SteamOS for NVIDIA drivers and you're able to just install it, then you can just turn your laptop into a Steam
which
machine,
might be better.
Which would 100% be better.
So I might invest in SteamOS, but I'm not, definitely not looking at a PS6. And I'm not on the Xbox camp. Sorry, Jackson, you know that. But I don't really see a lot of reason to get Xbox. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to this next. I mean, unless they unveil, again, what I keep saying, if the software is fun and if the software works, and if your selling point is we have this great software only on this console, you know, that's what's really going to sell your console. You know, the Game Boy, I mean, it's what I always say. The Game Boy didn't sell like crazy because the Game Boy was some fantastic piece of technology. No, it was like the cheapest handheld out there when it released.
That's why it lasted so long with battery life.
But the two benefits were, A, it had long battery life, but the reason it sold so well is that thing had Tetris. No other handheld, like that was how you played Tetris back then on the go, was on the Game Boy. So you had to get a Game Boy. It had Tetris on it.
Mm-hmm. And they weren't that terrible. I believe they weren't that terrible.
They were these cheap, pretty like primitive handhelds, but they just had great games on them, you know? Like Game Boy Donkey Kong, like incredible game, you know, like Super Mario Land, Metroid 2, Link's Awakening, like all these amazing games for this little tiny handheld, and that's why it was successful.
So out of the four that I've just described, if you had to choose except for the Switch 2, which one would you get definitively? And you didn't have a PlayStation. You didn't have anything.
If I didn't have anything.
And minus the Switch 2, because that's the obvious pick.
I mean, I'd probably lean towards PS6 because I love the software of the PlayStation.
But those would be going to Steam Machine and Xbox eventually.
I mean, they'll port some of them to PC, and there's some crossovers. So, I mean, either probably PS6 or get some sort of Steam Machine PC.
Okay,
I think those are my options. What about do you think you'll get the Xbox handheld?
The handheld would be very interesting. I think I would get like the Xbox maybe. Actually, no. I'm actually a huge advocate for SteamOS right now, so I would get the Steam Machine.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see. Obviously, it's going to be a few years, and it'll be interesting to see when they unveil it.
I'm telling you, next year. Next year's going to be crazy.
We're going to move on to another topic. I think we're getting there, unless there was anything else. I don't want to cut you off, Jackson.
If PS6 can't sell their consoles, do you think they'll pull a Sega and stop making consoles and make software only?
Sony won't do that. I mean, I think if Sony pulls out,
what if they just don't sell? They're
I don't know,
public
but
company.
I feel like
they have shareholders. They have to turn a profit.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I like But I think like we're out here saying, oh, they're not going to sell. I mean, there's still an industry, and there's still, I think, I mean,
there's a huge fan
you
base.
you have gamers that still buy Call of Duty games for $60 every year.
Yeah.
And I think those are the same people that are going to go out and buy PS6 when it comes out, just
That's
because
fair.
they want the newer thing.
That's fair. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag that topic.
No. It's
But
there's a lot
just,
to
like,
there. There's a lot to go
interesting.
over.
That's why I was like so excited to talk
Yeah.
about this time.
All right. I got a new
game.
game for you. Ready, Jackson? So I've written, and y'all have probably seen this trend online. I've written the plots of 3 movies purposefully really badly. Like really bad explanations of these movies. You have to figure out what movie I'm talking about. All right, and I've given you three questions, okay?
Okay.
So first movie. And this is pretty easy. I think you'll get this one, okay? Man wins a war with a frisbee against a Halloween decoration.
What? Man wins a war with a frisbee against a Halloween decoration.
That is the plot of a real movie. I've just explained it really, really badly.
Man wins a war with a frisbee against a Halloween decoration. Is that like, I don't know, Chucky?
Chucky? This is not. Is that your final answer?
Sure.
It's not Chucky. It is Captain America: The First Avenger.
Oh. Wait, against Halloween? Oh, you're saying
Red Skull.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
Red Skull. It's the Halloween decoration. The frisbee being the shield. Okay.
I didn't realize you were going that. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. Okay, ready? This one, I think that they get a little harder each time. Okay,
Oh, no.
so I'm gonna go to the second one. I think this was the second hardest right here. A man finally learns how to log off of an insanely popular MMO and then gets to log back in with cheat codes.
Oh. I can like imagine what this movie is, and I know it, but I
There
can't.
might be a few. There's another movie I'm thinking that you might guess. So I might give you half credit if you guess this one and say, yeah, you could count. But there's a specific movie I am thinking about right now. A man finally learns how to log off of an insanely popular MMO.
Oh,
and
The
then
Matrix.
Yes, The Matrix.
Yes.
That MMO being The Matrix. Which I say that jokingly. I think there was a really popular Matrix MMO for a while.
Was there? That's
Yeah.
funny.
All right. Last one. This one's going to be really hard, but I think you'll get it. Hopefully you'll get it. An accountant figures out how to commit identity fraud and dig holes.
My mind went to holes. No, it's not the plot of Holes.
It is not the plot of Holes.
Yeah.
That'd be a poor me
Yeah.
mentioning holes for the plot of
Can you
Holes.
say it again?
Yeah. An accountant figures out how to commit identity fraud and dig holes.
Dig holes.
This is the most, I think, abstract and like I think this is the worst explanation of all 3 of these movies.
Oh. I got no idea.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my. Oh. That's bad.
That's bad.
That's really bad.
Well, that was like hey, 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
Let's all give Jackson a big round of applause. I think 1 out of 3 is really good
Okay.
for the first time playing that game.
Well, he didn't tell me about this. I was going to write clues down. Good thing I
We were
didn't.
gonna do Clue Game, but I was like, I'll mix it up. I had this idea like in the middle last night, and I was like, oh, this would be great. I gotta like come up with some explanations. Anyway,
Like,
it's now time, guys, to talk about the Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct.
DK, you got that apple?
I do. I'm not gonna get the apple.
Where is it?
That's right. It's
You just have it on the ground. That's a perfectly
What do you
good
want me to
apple.
put? That is a good apple. I'm gonna put
You
it
should
right
eat
here.
it.
I'm not gonna eat the apple. I'm not gonna give them that ASMR. They have to pay extra for that. Anyway, I want to make it said very clear. What did I say? What did I say last episode, Jackson?
Banana.
No, I did say banana. I think at some point in that.
Well, you actually made me say banana.
I think I made you say banana.
Yeah.
But what did I say last? What did we say? Like, oh, how long the rec's gonna be? What did I say?
You said 16 minutes.
I said 17.
No, you said 16. I said 17. It was 15.
Was it 15?
Yes.
Hold on, I'm checking. I think it was 17.
It was 15.
I think it was 17.
It was
I'm gonna double check.
Because it says in the description, it says approximately 15 minutes long.
But that's approximate. It can go more or less. I would just want to double check. I don't want to we can get it, and I don't.
But I
wanna,
said 16. You said 17.
I may pull up the episode. It was 17 minutes.
Okay, pull up the episode then.
And I'll pull up our previous episode.
You do that. I will ask the big question: did it need the direct?
I always find it weird what Nintendo decides to call a direct and a regular video. Because they have sometimes videos that are just like 10-minute explanation videos for their next game, and sometimes they have 17-minute. I think their term is like, okay, I think if it crosses the 15-minute threshold, they're like, okay, this has enough meat on it that we can consider this a direct.
Interesting. You can actually play this first. We'll look at this.
I gotta find the right time. So
you can play it out loud. Let them hear.
I know we're not gonna get to. Did we talk about Mario Kart World before or after we talked about DK Bananza?
I would assume I think DK Direct was the last thing we talked about and Switch 2.
Probably going to be the $80 game, but I think the rest are more.
Sorry,
Bear
guys.
with us.
Here, you talk while I'm figuring.
Okay. If you've seen the Direct, you would know there's a lot you can do in this game. I'm sorry. I'm distracted by you. I'm
sorry.
Attention. No, it's okay.
We may edit it. We'll edit this out real quick. Sorry.
No,
guys.
we're not. No, it's fine. They can.
But they did the gameplay video. I mean, they showed you, hey, this is what the gameplay is going to look like. It wasn't a direct. It wasn't a direct.
Here it is.
They've done it for like.
Okay, play it with the mic.
But I am with you. There is that single player. I want to know what. I don't think they've revealed the time. Go back. I will say, assuming it's going to be 17 minutes.
You're
What
right.
did I say? I'm gonna let's replay it. Let's replay it here
Turn it up all the way.
at slow mo.
$20. I want to know I'm going to enjoy the thing I'm going to play for.
slow
Do we
mo.
know how long the direct is? I don't think they've revealed the time. I'm assuming it's going to be 17 minutes.
17 minutes
He did get
was the time
He
of
did
the
get
direct. I called it basically exactly on the. I wanted
Very
to make
good.
that very clear.
I thought you had said 15. I
did
thought
not.
you had said 16, and then I saw it was 15, and so. I was
Anyway,
like,
it was a great direct, I thought, or video,
It was.
whatever you thought. I think there was enough there. But to give to your credit, Jackson, I will say you weren't that far off. You talked about how you said, look, when they released the first trailer for the Odyssey, we didn't see any of the Cappy
Thank you,
transformations.
Arlo.
And you said, I'm sure they're going to show. You backed Arlo here and said, I think they're definitely going to show a mechanic that we just did not see.
Pauline.
Not Paul. Oh, my thought wasn't Paul. That was new. I will say that
Oh.
was big.
What
But
are you
my
saying?
thought was the Kong transformations.
Oh yeah, no,
Looked
that's
so
cool.
fun. Like,
That
looks
does look
such a fun.
And there's definitely some that they are not showing yet.
You think so? You
No.
think it's going to be more than just those? Do you think there's going to be one for each sub level?
You unlock them as you go. There's no way you just get them right out of the gate. Because
No, that
they said
shows
there's
it-
like multiple sub levels, and there's more than just 3.
Yeah, they showed that there's more. But do you think maybe you just see 3 elders and then you just play the rest of the sub levels
No,
and
no.
use those?
You
You
got-
think you're going to get like 4 or
There's
5?
definitely like 4. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think there's
no way.
maybe 1 or 2 more. I think it was just a really cool. I mean, it just looked really fun. And
The
fact
amount
that
you can do in this game, that's what I was trying to say to them,
Yeah.
but I got distracted. There are so many things, just like the platforming mechanics alone.
Mm-hmm.
It is insane. Like the amount you can ride on like the rocks that you tear off. You can tear down entire mountains. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we saw that in like the first announcement trailer on the direct way back in, what was it, like April or something?
Yeah.
And we were like, can we actually just do whatever we want in this like game? Is it just a sandbox? And it is. You can tear down any part of the level that you want.
And one thing I do appreciate, and they showed this at the Treehouse. So they did a lot of early gameplay at Treehouse right after the direct came out, and they showed this. They said, look, if you want to reset the level, you just go into the map, hit like a reset button, and it'll reset
that's
all the
cool.
terrain. If you soft locked yourself out of like a
there's
banana,
gonna be
or something.
glitches with that. You just know it.
Yeah, like hopefully it's pretty well polished. But no, yeah, it's just Nintendo has always done a good job with their platformers of saying like, hey, here's a really cool toolbox of moves and things you can do. Now see what you can do with that. I mean, you look at like Mario 64. I mean, that game can just be pushed to its limits by players, you know, because the movement is so unique and free flowing that like they can just pull off these crazy moves. And Odyssey is like
That's why you
Odyssey-
don't like the Sunshine music.
yeah, and that's why I'm not a big fan of Sunshine, because it's very limiting. And Galaxy, didn't have that, but I think it had great level design to make up for it. But Odyssey and 64 definitely inhabit this nature of just like, here's a move set, now go get the star, you know, and how you get it is up to you. Here's a path that you can take, but there might be other ways. And I think, and I'm excited. I'm a big action game guy. I'm a guy who likes kind of like just punching things. Like I'm a big beat 'em up fan. So seeing a platformer here, you know, I'm wearing my Pizza Tower. I love Pizza Tower because it has that physicality to it where you're just kind of like, it's just like go, 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 and you're just punching and running into things. And so I'm excited for DK Bonanza just to like go around and just like spam the punch button into walls.
The amount of enemies he was just destroying, and it just looks so much fun.
Oh yeah,
it looks great. What do you think about Pauline?
I mean, again, like you texted me and you were like, I mean, this is gonna. And I see people all the time about like, this is gonna mess up the timeline, guys.
They don't care.
There's no Mario lore here.
No, it is so funny. In the canonical lore, Pauline and Donkey Kong are friends when because Pauline's on your shoulder. I think they confirmed her age is 13.
Yeah, she's the third. Yeah, so the idea is young teenager here. So that's her companion. Yeah.
Yes. So shoulder companion, literally. The implications of the first Donkey Kong arcade game, if they were both good pals when she was 13, and she's like what, probably 20 something in the Donkey Kong arcade game, like a full on princess. That means Mario's trying to kidnap her, and you're playing as the bad guy in the Donkey Kong arcade game, while Donkey Kong is just trying to save her. Yeah,
well, I think there's always been that theory, and you know, it's also weird that like Mario's then the villain in Donkey Kong Jr. So that's always been there. But also, like another thing, like everyone's talking about this, guys. Nintendo doesn't care. What those developers said would say, hey, you know, we have Pauline, and she has this connection, like. I bet young Pauline would be an interesting, fun new companion for Donkey Kong.
I agree with that, but I just think it's so funny to point out, like, this makes Mario the bad guy.
It's interesting, though. It feels, but I wonder if, I think it is an Odyssey prequel. I truly think it's an Odyssey prequel because this is the Pauline of Odyssey. She's an aspiring singer. This is the Pauline of Super Mario Odyssey.
That is true.
And this is her before she becomes mayor of New Donk City. I think that is true. I don't know if it's the Pauline of the Donkey Kong games. And of course everyone's being confused because, you know, the idea is that Cranky Kong is the Donkey Kong of the arcade games. And then so the family tree is Cranky Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., then Rare's version of DK. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and so I think, but no one cares. Nintendo doesn't care.
Actual lore behind.
Y'all care. Y'all shouldn't care that much and just enjoy the game. But Nintendo doesn't.
I think it's fun to.
It's fun, but like it doesn't matter. Yeah. But I will say, I think what we talked about, this Direct definitely did a good job of getting you more excited for the game. Because the first, like, it's one of those things where Nintendo's great at, like, they'll show you this first trailer, and you're like, oh, that looks fun, you know? And they're like, oh, yeah, and by the way, you'll get to do these things. And you're just like, whoa.
It's like when Snake dropped in the Smash Bros. Ultimate trailer, and it said, everyone is here. You know, or like, you know, and this is different because they kind of teased it in the trailers, you know. Tears of the Kingdom was already looking like a really cool sequel to Breath of the Wild, and then they showed off that gameplay trailer and said, oh yeah, you can build whatever you want. And we were freaking out. It's the age of Nintendo sandboxes. You can build whatever you want in Tears of the Kingdom. You can destroy whatever you want. What's next? You can build and destroy. Well, one thing that looked interesting to me, and this is what I said about DK Bonanza. Yes, it looks like a fun like game. Don't get me wrong. I like the story. I like the premise they've set up here. Someone pointed out it kind of has like a Wreck-It Ralph vibe to it, which people said the irony because, you know, Wreck-It Ralph is supposed to be like is supposed to be kind of a Donkey Kong kind of archetype, and so it's like DK inspired Wreck-It Ralph, but now Ralph, it's DK and Pauline kind of have this Ralph and what's her face, Penelope kind of. So I think, I mean, great movie. I like this plot of like, you know, this young girl who's like, oh, I have to get back to the surface so I can achieve my dreams of being a singer. And DK's like, banana. But like, you know, they have a common goal there to get to the core. Ralph is like, I want to be a good guy, and then she's like,
I want to win a race. So, but it's that interesting thing of like
racer.
this mismatched pair that both share this common goal. And I think it's interesting, Pauline's going to have full voice acting in it, which I think is interesting.
It's the same voice actress as the one in Odyssey.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if that's been confirmed. I hope
it is confirmed.
It got confirmed.
I saw it.
And that'll be nice if it's the same vocal performance.
Oh, I had something completely wrong last time. Splitgate 2, I want to just correct myself before I forget. Splitgate 2 is not $40, nor was it actually ever $40. The game is free. However, there is a $80 cosmetic bundle that you can buy that's already out. That was the thing that apparently I saw.
Apologies, Splitgate developers.
With the actual game itself. So if you want to go play Splitgate, go play it. Fun, free. I think it's out now. I don't care. Anyways,
that was weird.
Donkey Kong. I just remembered that. I was like, I need to correct myself.
You had to get that out before you forget it again.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah, I mean, there's just not much else to say. It looks like a really, really fun platformer that's doing, it has a lot of secret areas, seems to have a lot of collectibles. It looks like they're doing a lot with the sub levels, which I like.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, the 2D one. Oh, I'm excited for the 2D levels. This game might make me want to go back and play Tropical Freeze because I never played it. I played the original Donkey Kong Country Returns just like a little bit when I was a kid. It was hard. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I think now I would enjoy it more, but I also don't want to pay $60 for a game that came out 12 years ago.
I'm really glad you could change DK's costumes because one thing I was like, oh, well, I'm a little disappointed he's wearing overalls the whole game. I wanted kind of like classic DK just running around. And you can do that. You can play Naked DK in this.
That's hard to say.
Naked DK. Say that. Naked DK. Yeah. No.
But the outfits do special things.
But yeah, that does. But that always frustrates me. I like when you can equip, like when games do this thing where you can equip cosmetics and you can equip the benefits without the look.
I have a gripe.
What?
There's a skill tree.
What are you talking about?
I do not like skill trees.
You don't like skill trees?
I don't like.
I was very excited that there was some skill tree kind of RPG leveling system in this game.
I don't. Every time there's a skill tree in a game, like, man, I don't want to think about that. Just give me those abilities like as I progress. Like, don't make me choose what I want. Don't make me choose. Just give them to me as I progress through the game.
But the counter argument is, I think when you have a game like Donkey Kong that's going to have a lot of different movesets and stuff, you're going to develop a certain play style of how you progress through the game. Yeah. And the idea of the skill tree is that, instead of just telling you, hey, you got an upgrade to this ability you rarely use, it's, hey, you can choose to fully upgrade the only abilities you're using. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand the purpose of a skill tree. I do not like skill trees.
I understand that.
That's my biggest gripe about the Spider-Man games is the skill trees are so big and the amount of moves you have to learn.
When the skill trees get that big and unwieldy, I'm with you there. But theirs seems pretty small.
It does seem slightly smaller.
Theirs just seems small and more straightforward. I've always said I think one of the greatest skill tree leveling up systems of all time is in Skyrim. I think that's like a perfect skill tree.
Still never played an Elder Scrolls game. Actually, no, I played the opening 5 minutes of Morrowind, so I take that back.
Yeah. But I think I was there when you did that, actually.
And not good.
Anyway, so I like that skill tree, but no, I do. It is frustrating me when they got 7 different skill trees running that you have to manage. Mm-hmm. That frustrates me.
It does look a little bit small.
And this one looks a little more streamlined.
I'll still play the game. I'm still going to buy it. But
yeah. I will say the soundtrack sounds amazing from the music we heard in the trailers.
I don't remember it too much. Actually, no, I do remember.
They had some great remixes.
Very good remix of DK Jungle Swing. They better include aquatic ambience in there.
Yes, I hope they do.
We didn't talk about this last time. The soundtrack for Mario Kart World.
We did talk about
Did we talk about that?
We did talk about it a little bit.
It's so good.
If we didn't, Mario Kart World soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks I think Nintendo has put out.
The amount, because any game related to Mushroom Kingdom whatsoever has almost every track from those games is in there, just remixed.
There's a challenge that references Mario Paint, and they did a remix of the Mario Paint theme.
I know,
which is crazy.
Did you find that from Donkey's video?
I think I heard that earlier before I saw Donkey's video, but it was really good. Y'all should go watch it if you haven't.
Man, the Rainbow Road music it's been stuck in my head all day.
But no, I mean, Bonanza looks like a fun action platformer. I think it was a great game to kind of pair with World. You get your fun, more online, kind of spin-off game, and you get your standard single-player Nintendo game.
Now, do you think, now that we know all this about DK, do you think that DK should have been the launch title of the Switch, and Mario Kart World should have come out the month after.
No, I really don't think so. I think they knew exactly what they're doing with Mario Kart World. They said, look, Mario Kart is our most popular franchise. They knew this. And it was a game that you could play together with people. It was in a sharing community. I think more people were excited for Mario Kart than they were with Donkey Kong. I think it was smart maybe because let's be honest, both of them are launch titles. If they really wanted to, they would have launched both. But they were nice enough and say, hey, we're going to give you about a month to enjoy Mario Kart World, and they're going to give you some time, and then we'll release Donkey Kong Bonanza. But I don't think they should have been switched. I mean, I think what they're going to do is have people get used to the Switch 2 system, and then let you play this amazing 2D experience.
There are benefits of having a single player release, just like Breath of the Wild, how great that game was, and having the multiplayer later can really draw more people in on that second wave. But now that I kind of think about it more, I think you're right. Mario Kart World was the ideal game because an example happened about that today where they're like, okay, people like the loyal Nintendo customers are going to buy this and they're going to buy Mario Kart World. That's a game you play with your friends. You play it with your friends and those friends are going to go out and buy their own Switch 2s to get Mario Kart World because they're enjoying it so much.
There is that, which
happened today.
Oh yeah. Oh, we had a friend who's been playing so much Mario Kart World. He bought a Switch 1 from him, and then
he bought a Switch 1 from me 2 weeks ago. He lived with that for 2 weeks, and then he was playing Mario Kart World, and he was like, "Man, I got to get a Switch 2." And we went out to Target today. They're there, like they're readily available. If you want one, you can get one. It's insane.
Hats off to Nintendo for not recreating, I feel like, the fiasco of the last launch.
And people keep saying it was an awful way to like get your. It's been great for me. I think like this launch has been one of the smoothest out of the past, like since 2020 when those PS5s and Xbox came out.
Yeah,
those were so much harder to get than the Nintendo Switch 2, as well as the Switch 1. That was so much harder to get than a Switch 2. Like miles. Like I don't know. People just like to complain.
I will say one thing we did not talk about, Donkey Kong, which I do want to talk about, which I think changes the conversation about what Nintendo is doing dramatically, which is the reveal that Nintendo's doing their kind of second player buddy system for Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I first saw it and said, okay, yeah, you can control Pauline, you can aim and kind of shoot projectiles at enemies, which I don't think a lot of people will use, but it seemed like a very, very big deal to me that they said, hey, you can use Game Share to let a second player play this game. And not only can you use Game Share with a Switch 2 and a Switch 2, if a person has a Switch 1, they can somehow... How are they doing? Is the idea maybe that because it's a limited amount of controls, they can run it still?
No. The Switch 1 doesn't download anything. It does not run it off its hardware. It is, in a sense, streaming it over a local wireless connection from the Switch 2. Or you can do it online, and it's streaming it from their servers.
Yeah. So
actually, you can't do the Switch 1 online. You have to do it local wireless, which is why you have to do it local wireless.
Switch 2 can connect locally to a Switch 1, and then it can run...
Switch 1 the power.
It can give Switch 1 the power to run DK Bonanza for the second player.
If we think about it, that's insane.
Which is
crazy. A Switch 2 can basically run 2 units of the same game. That demanding, too. DK Bonanza looks pretty demanding. Have you seen his fur? I mean, look at his fur.
Also, people hating on the new Donkey Kong design. It's so
much better. It's so much better.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
My brother said it was scary. It's like, no, it's so much better.
He does have kind of those like darker, I feel like, eyes. He's like,
no.
But
especially on the Nintendo Today app, they were posting like facial expressions that he could do, and it's like so much more animated.
Yeah.
However, there's still Rare's DK in the world, which is in Universal. They haven't changed the mascot design there. The Rare's DK is walking around in Nintendo Land, not the new one. Anyways, what were you about to say?
But no, the fact that they can run it, but also to show that Nintendo hasn't fully forgotten about the Switch 1.
Which is
because
nice.
They said in an interview...
They said for a year.
They said, like, hey, we still want to support the Switch 1 and we still want to make that a viable option. And I really thought that was just the corporate answer saying, marketing. Like, buy a Switch 1 if you can't afford the Switch 2, which is literally something they said. But it is nice to know they're actually taking a step of saying, hey, we still want to make a Switch 1. We still want to acknowledge it and use it when we can. And so am I saying they're going to do dual releases of games on Switch 1 and 2? No, but it's nice that they're saying, like, hey, if someone has a Switch 2, the Switch 1 can run the second player stuff. It's not that. I mean, I think they said, hey, I think a Switch 1 could handle running the second player stuff, because it's a smaller console. I just appreciate that they're doing that. But I thought that was a big deal. The way they're using mouse controls and saying like, oh, we have the paint mode, it felt like maybe the developers were asked to do something with the mouse controls and they said, we made a sculpture mini game.
I felt the opposite.
Really?
I was like, oh, I was thinking like maybe it's more of a contest and like the developers are like, hey, we're wrapping up progress here. Y'all just make whatever you think is fun. Whoever has the best one out of all of y'all, we're putting into the game. Yeah. Something like that, where they're like, hey, we're just gonna
let's find something fun.
Cause it's in my idea of like it kind of related back to Mario 64, where you could grab Mario's face in the home screen and stretch it around. Yeah. That's kind of like what I thought about. It's like a fun little just like add on, like because like why not, Because like they already have the mouse controls with Pauline.
That's true. They set that up and then they
didn't need a new mouse control.
Another thing about mouse controls, a little sidebar. Why have they not given mouse controls to Super Mario Maker 2 yet?
They haven't done that. Mojang hasn't done a Minecraft update with the mouse controls. They haven't updated Metroid Prime Remaster with the mouse. I am upset about the
game developers need to get on it.
I was so excited about these mouse controls, and I haven't been able to use them in a game.
Yeah,
like I'm upset. I'm excited.
They haven't been really utilized well.
They'll be there soon. I know that.
Well, you can get the basketball game. Is it on launch? Has it been launched?
No, that's not till like August.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not kidding. Yeah. Is that? Do we know the price on that yet?
I have no idea.
It better be 50. 50
40.
Or 40.
I think it should be 40.
40 honestly. But like Nintendo, it's going to be 50. But it should be like 40 or 30.
Yeah. But
would you get it if it was 40?
Maybe if it was 40.
Are you going to get Welcome Tour?
No, I'm not getting one. Well, I've heard there's actually a lot out of there that Nintendo didn't share. Like, maybe it is worth... Like, I like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It should have been free. It should have been free software.
Did you know to 100% it, you need a 4K HDR 120 hertz display?
Oh, I think I did hear that. Oh, like to be able to like see something in it?
Yeah.
And you need like the camera. And
the camera, yes.
And like you need all this technology that costs a ton. Completion.
Which you can use any... USB camera. Actually, one of the guys I think it was Beat 'em Ups on YouTube. I think you know. He plugged in a like one of his studio cameras into the Switch 2, and it was working.
Oh, cool!
And so you can use like any camera you want. I don't know about a phone camera though.
Yeah,
probably not.
But no, we've gotten sidetracked. But no, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza that direct has definitely convinced a lot more people to buy it. Convinced a lot more people like, hey. This is a game that you should be excited for.
I was going to get it. It's confirmed by purchase. 100. It is 100% confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to get it regardless. I said, look, this is their new platformer. It's Donkey Kong. It looks fun. I knew I was going to get it then. I'm so much more excited about it now.
Do you see a 3D Mario this Christmas with the DK, or is this the 3D platformer?
So what I've heard, there's an insider, a former Nintendo insider, who has basically said, yeah, I think this is definitely the Odyssey team working on this. Or at least some sort of Mario team working on this. So it's going to be several years.
We won't see it 4 or 5 years down the line.
Not 5 years. I mean, I'm sure maybe they've been doing some development work as they've kind of like maybe as they've wrapped up.
Another one. Luigi's Mansion 3 mouse controls.
That would be good with mouse controls, yeah.
Sorry. I can't stop thinking about mouse controls.
I think it's going to be a while. I think this is going to be our big 3D platformer to have for a while. Which I'm, if it's a good game, I'm excited. What I hope they do, and what I hope there is that, after you beat the main game in the way that they're in Odyssey, I hope there's a lot of reason to continue to collect the game. I hope maybe there's some like extra worlds or, secret bosses when you collect enough banana gems. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot to be excited for. I mean, if it is Donkey Kong Odyssey, I will be very happy with it.
They're not going to do this, but it'd be really funny, or not funny. It'd be really fun if they just put like some country or country returns levels in like a sub menu after you beat the game, kind of like in 3D World when they added the original Super Mario Bros. Into it, except it was Luigi.
Oh, Luigi Bros. Yeah. That'd be cool. Like, and I think they'll probably, I'm sure maybe a lot of the like 2D levels will be like inspired by the original levels.
Oh yeah, the mine carting looks great.
Yeah, it does look like fun. I'm just very excited for it.
It's going to be a great game.
I'm so excited.
All the atmospheres and everything, just the colors are popping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It just looks like an amazing game that really is like showcasing what you can do with the Switch 2.
Oh yeah, 4K 60.
Well, we had another topic planned, but this episode.
Let's do it.
You want to do it real quick?
Let's do it.
We're gonna go move on to our last topic.
I think this season is the season of past hour-long episodes. And I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I like the long show.
All right. Okay, guys. So we're gonna talk about James Bond right now. All right. So Amazon's working on new Bond stuff right now. All right. So we'll talk about two things. A is
Give me 1 second.
1 second.
You continue. I'm
going to talk while he handles this real quick. Just a little minor technical difficulty. So we have two things. We have a video game coming out called 007 First Light that's being made by the Hitman developers. Can I get a thumbs up, Jackson? I'm not.
Yes,
Hitman developers. So very exciting. There's a trailer out for that you can see. But Amazon's also planning to develop a new series of Bond films. This will be the first series since Daniel Craig's run at it.
Is it a TV show?
No, so it'll be. So this is what's I'm a little frustrated at. Amazon kind of wants to do the streaming franchise thing with Bond.
Oh.
They want to do a series of films. They want to spin off with a few TV shows, maybe just some spin-off films, which I'm not excited about. Like, is it possible to make that work? Yes. I just don't. I just don't trust them with it. But the big actor being rumored for that right now to play 007, to play James Bond, is Aaron Taylor Johnson. Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's done a ton of stuff. Like, he's almost.
What has he done? I don't know who this guy is.
You know him as probably what you know him as Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Okay.
So he's a British actor.
Yeah.
The reason they think he's going to be Bond is that he's in that movie. He was recently in that movie 28 Years Later.
I heard it was good.
It was, so he's in that as one of the main characters, and he's on the red carpet. And they asked him, like, what are you working on next? And he got like really. You see the video. He gets like really weird in the video and says like, "Oh, I can't talk about it," and then just walks away.
Oh.
And they know, like, and it's known that they're working on new Bond stuff. They've known that he's kind of been discussed to be in the running. So a lot of people think, oh, is this guy going to be Bond?
That'd be cool. He was a good actor in Ultron. So
yeah, he's a great. I mean, you probably remember me talking about his Craven movie a lot too, that I thought was going to be really good.
He was in Craven.
He was Craven.
Oh no, now I don't.
He's in Bullet, but he did Bullet Train. One of my favorite. He's in The Fall Guy. He's a terrible person in The Fall Guy.
Terrible person or terrible actor?
Like, he does a good job, but he like plays like the worst guy. He plays like the actor that Ryan Reynolds is the stunt double for. Mm-hmm. But a good British actor. But we were the question I wanted to talk to Jackson is, do you think of any, if you like think of like young kind of British actors out there, and I can pull up a list to kind of remind you, is there anyone else that comes to mind that you think maybe would be better for it?
No, I have no idea. I don't know actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pull up a list of people, and you'll have to tell me who they are, though, or what they've played at least. Yeah. I'm more excited about the Bond game, and I'm excited to talk about it.
And you can talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think it looks phenomenal. I like what they're doing kind of with the story.
It looks very enjoyable.
That's all you have to say?
Well, I'm just going to wait till we can both talk about it.
Yeah. So some other actors that I think have been talked about this on the web. Regé-Jean Page, who's famously in Bridgerton. You'd probably know him. Did you see the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
No.
You didn't? Okay, he's in that, but he's a pretty good actor.
How was that?
The D&D movie?
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons movie. Sorry, I was thinking of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, no.
Which one was he in that?
He was the paladin that they see for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a really good movie.
Do you remember the paladin that is with them just for like 30 minutes of the movie to like go into the cave?
Yes.
So it's that guy. So they've talked about that guy a little bit. Henry Cavill has been in that question.
He would be good.
But I think the reason
British?
He wouldn't do
Is
it.
He British?
He's British. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He does have a lot of other projects he's working on, so I don't think he's available.
Warhammer.
But he definitely does have that. Yeah, he's doing Warhammer. He's doing the Highlander remake. Idris Elba, I know, been talked about in a lot of that.
He doesn't want to he doesn't want to do it unless they confirm with him that they are not just choosing him because he's black. He's like, I want to be James Bond because they want him to be James Bond,
which is understandable. But I think there's a lot of good actors out there. I mean, like, not to be rude to like the Bond character. And I'm not saying like, it's a shallow performance, but and I think Daniel Craig's really changed this. Daniel Craig brought a lot, I think, more emotionality to Bond.
Seriousness.
Not seriousness. He's always been kind of like this deadpan
I need
seriousness.
to rewatch those because I hardly remember them.
The Daniel Craig series?
I saw the last one whenever it came out. Yeah. It was not that good.
Paul Mescal's been talked about, I think. Don't get me wrong. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is a smart idea for a front runner. He's kind of he's the big young British actor right now. Mm-hmm. He's the big British actor. I think he kind of has that
probably gonna be him.
Pretty boy image that they kind of get out of Bond. If you look at kind of the history of what does the Bond persona look like?
When is the 007 game coming out?
I don't know. I think next year.
It could coincide with the release of the first film.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what they're doing is, I think, and you'll see this, they're trying to do a big kind of push. They'll probably launch the game.
Modern Bond is what we're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Bond's always had to change to, I feel like, what the deal, like in the 60s, Bond was, it was all about the Cold War, and then in the 90s, they just get out of, I haven't seen Pierce Brosnan's, but it's much more modern. It's about kind of post Cold War. Mm-hmm. And then you get into the Daniel Craig and it's a lot more about modern espionage and it kind of modernizes it. So I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like Bond has had its own kind of unique era, but it's been so recent to the Daniel Craig, how are you going to make it different? Mm-hmm. How is this Aaron Taylor Johnson's, how is his portrayal of Bond going to be different? And do you make it more stylized?
It could be similar to the game because based off the game trailer, it seemed like he was a lot more upbeat and happy about what he was doing. I feel like Daniel Craig's, he was always kind of like I have to do this because I have to do this.
He was a more rough. So Daniel Craig's, I've always felt like was a more rougher, coarser Bond. Mm-hmm. I think it's very clear in that opening scene, which is this black and white, very stark, he's in this brutal fight with this guy in this bathroom. It was this much more, he still could wear the tux, he still could drink the martini, he could still be that classy version of Bond, but I feel like he was a lot more of a coarser version of the character. And they can either lean into that more, I think, and really go further with that, or I think they can bring it back to maybe a more classic Bond. And I don't know, I just feel like there's so many spy movies out there, and the espionage genre has been done so many times. Mm-hmm. Could you make the Bond, if you kind of make it more classic, will there be, some will people appreciate that? If you make it more classic, you kind of do
the Batman, for example, they kind of changed the image that Batman had been brought over the past 15 years to more of a detective, and people loved that movie.
Or we talked about last week, Superman's definitely bringing it back to a more classic vibe of the character, but it's still in this very modern context, but it very much feels like it's source material. Is there a way you can still have Bond in a modern context but still feel like the classic Sean Connery character? He's cracking jokes after he kills a guy for some reason.
I think so.
But I think Aaron Taylor Johnson can bring that. I think he can do a good job with that.
Leads me again to the game. People were pointing out the character seemed a lot more like a Nathan Drake or Indiana Jones kind of personality.
Yeah, and he was definitely, and that's because I think it's a younger Bond in that game. It's kind of him just starting out, and I think, I think Daniel Craig's was an older agent who had just become a 007, and that's what was interesting. He's a little bit older, Daniel Craig's in Casino Royale, but had just become 00 and clearly was kind of out of line. Aaron Taylor Johnson's, I don't know. I really don't know. And, they're going to do spin-offs. What?
Do you think it'll be an origin? Or will it just be...
I don't know. Bond? Well, I feel like, when they did Casino Royale, that was kind of Bond's origin story.
Yeah.
And they did a lot more of his backstory, and they haven't really done that in previous. So I wonder if they'll just go back to kind of classic, Bond action.
He's a spy. That's all you got to know.
He's a spy, and that's what you'll do, and he'll go
dropped into the story.
I do maybe want them to, they had such an emphasis the Bond films for Daniel Craig definitely had an overall plot. You know, Spectre was a heavy part of it. I don't really want him to introduce Spectre maybe into like the third movie.
That was
if they're going to do a big series.
That's like the main villain, right?
It's the main organization. It's the main antagonist. It's the organization that Bond's fighting. So the idea in the Daniel Craig version is that you realize that spoilers for
they've been out for a while.
They've been out for a while. But spoilers for the Daniel Craig. Just cover your ears real quick for a few seconds. Spoilers for the Daniel Craig Bond series. Every villain he fights throughout the series, they realize we're all part of this same criminal organization. And in the film Spectre, which is the name of the organization, he finally brings them down. And that's like who Sean Connery fights, and that's who I think his name is like Dr. Blofeld is the name of like the leader of it. The
parody character in Austin Powers, right?
Yes, Dr. Evil is based off that character. But yeah, fun fact, I showed Jackson and another friend of ours. I mean, it is dated. Doesn't mean it's not funny.
It's rough.
Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. Like I say that,
not knowing the source material that well made it a little harder to enjoy.
As someone who had seen, I think, 2 Sean Connery Bond films, Austin Powers was really funny. But
I was watching a video about how hard it was to bring in that character back into Daniel Craig's because of Austin Powers and like how much that guy has been like overshadowed.
But I do love, and I think what they did in Perfect is that when they did Blofeld in Spectre, he was totally different. Like he had a little bit, they obviously had some homages. He gets the scar. He has a cat. You know, like a little bit, but like I feel like they totally grounded him and made him much more of like just like a demented character. And they had Christoph Waltz playing with him, and if you get Christoph Waltz to play any character, it's going to be amazing.
I think I just saw him in. I might. No, never mind.
But anyway, yeah. So that's my thing. It's just like I think Aaron Taylor Johnson can be a great Bond, but it's just Daniel Craig's has been so recent. I mean, No Time to Die came out. How many years ago was that?
2022?
It came out in 2019, right?
What?
Did it? I thought No Time to Die was 2019, which was the last.
It was like post-COVID.
I'll double check that. I could be wrong.
Man, no, there's no way it's 2019. I feel like that was
but
just.
But it's just like you have to. I think what they have to do, and what we're talking about, is just make it different in some way. And I don't know what that looks like, making it work. No, sorry, it came out 2021. So, 4 years, it's only been 4 years since the last Bond film. Amazon wants to make another one. They'll probably develop it. That's probably going to be another 3 or 4 years. So we're only looking at we're looking at less than a decade since the last Bond series ended. And I know they'll definitely want to do something interesting with it.
They just have to change the formula.
But obviously. They just have to change it up a little bit. Not formula, but style. Style a little bit. And what it definitely does not need to do is look like every other limited series kind of spy espionage show. Like, and I'm worried because it's Amazon making it, it's going to turn into that. Like a Reacher. Like it's going to look like a Reacher,
Yeah.
Which is like what we don't need. It needs to it needs to be this very different world. I think, which will be exciting. So I'm excited to see him. I'm a big fan of the Bond series. And I think if they choose to go with Aaron Taylor Johnson, it'll be really great. I would say, I think if I had my choice, I'd choose Henry Cavill.
He'd be good. A lot of people want him.
Yeah. But I also think, but there's a lot out there. I think Regé Jean Page would be a really good choice for that. I think he handles kind of the no nonsense guy. That's the guy who I said was in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really we talked y'all's ears off today. Sorry about that, guys. No. But I know we had a lot of dead space trying to
If they didn't want to listen to us, they could click off anyways.
Yeah, but I do appreciate that you've stayed this long. If you're watching the end of the video, you get your usual congratulations from me. You get a little applause. Yeah, we'll probably upload another video
Bananza.
soon. I'm so excited, guys. I got my Apple.
Great.
But DK Bananza, new Bond stuff is coming out. It's very exciting. New series of consoles. Hope you enjoyed us talking about it.
We shouldn't have missed anything new because we were recording this the night before it releases. So
yes, yeah. If we missed anything before this release, we're sorry about that. Yeah. So
I guess How to Train Your Dragon would have been the only thing. But
it was really good. I saw it. It was amazing.
I can't get behind it. I can't.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't get. I didn't see it.
You gotta trust me, man. You gotta trust it, man. You just gotta trust it and let it go.
I don't want to pay. Anyways,
that's fair. Anyway, we'll talk about that later, maybe. We'll see you in the next episode. I don't know exactly when that's going to be. It'll probably be sometime next week.
Next week, or maybe the week after.
Or the week after. We'll see. With 4th of July, our schedules might be a little weird.
And depending on the news that comes
and
out.
Depending on what is worthy of an episode. But yeah, we will talk to y'all later. So y'all all have a great day or night, whatever you're doing. Bye.
Bye.